Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. I'd like to begin the meeting, please. Thank you. My name is John Peters. I'm currently the Vice Chair of the Board of Trustees of the Midcoast Regional Redevelopment Authority, and I'm substituting tonight for our Chair, Herman Nick Nichols, who's in California, to babysit while his daughter-in-law has their second grandchild. I'm sure you'll agree that that...
Microphone, please.
I'm sorry?
You're speaking to the microphone. We can't hear you.
Oh. It's on. I'm speaking to it. Okay. As I was saying, Nick is in California attending to the birth of his second grandchild while babysitting his first grandchild. I think you'll all agree that that's one of the most important things he can do at this point. I'd like to begin by asking the members of the board to introduce themselves and what community they represent. John.
John Krasnick, resident of Scarborough, Maine.
Rita Armstrong, Freeport.
John Moncure from Harpswell.
Barry Woods from Harpswell.
John Peters from Harpswell.
Not a board member, but I'm Christine Logan. I'm the executive director of MRRA.
And I'm Stan Grozowski from Brunswick.
Barry Valentine from Brunswick.
And attending via Zoom, which I can see, but I'm not sure the audience can see, we have David Linné from Portland.
Yes, David Linné from Portland.
Oh, there he is. And Charlotte Mace from the governor's office. Charlotte?
I am not from the governor's office. My name is Charlotte Mace. I direct the Office of Business Development for the Maine Department of Economic and Community Development.
Are you the governor's representative?
If you'd like to get into a discussion of what the commissioner's role is on the board, we certainly can do that. But in this particular meeting, I am not speaking for the governor.
Well, maybe we can do that in executive session. I'd like to read an opening statement, if I could, and then pursuant to title, what happened to my agenda? Anyway, I will find it.
Can you lean into the microphone because they don't work that well?
Apparently not. Good afternoon. I'd like to thank everyone for being here this afternoon, and especially the Midcoast Regional Redevelopment Authority staff and executive director for their continued exhaustive efforts to develop a long-term solution to meet everyone's goal, which is to safely and permanently remove AFFF foam from the hangars. Our mutual interests are sometimes lost in the stress over the last few weeks. We're all in this together. The purpose of today's meeting is to continue to examine and act upon steps we can take towards that goal, including the requests communicated by the Brunswick Town Council at our last meeting. These deliberations will start in executive session, as we'll be discussing the legal implication of the town's requests. We'll then come out of executive session and return to the council chambers to publicly discuss the town's requests. Fire protection is highly regulated and governed by nationally developed codes, as well as local and state fire authorities. During our executive session, we'll separately discuss a routine personnel matter totally unrelated to the AFFF release or senior staff. Per our meeting notices, we will not include public comment during today's workshop, so the board may use its time focusing on next steps. MRRA has been present at 4 public meetings where we heard people's frustrations and worries. We've listened, taken careful notes, and are considering people's comments as we develop next steps. As a reminder, we include a public comment time at each of our regularly scheduled board meetings. For your information, the next meeting will be held on October 10th. Time and place to be determined. Every member of the MRRA staff and board is sorry about the accidental release. We're fully committed to finding a long-term solution, meeting our tenants' and community's needs. This is not a quick fix. We wish it were. This is a complex, multi-layered, and multi-jurisdictional challenge. It will be expensive. You have the board and staff's commitment that we will doggedly pursue the best solution. The desired removal of AFFF foam is not a challenge only in Brunswick. It's a global problem at airports, large and small, as well as businesses and fire departments. AFFF's use in fire suppression is mandated and regulated. It's a material that was widely considered a miracle product until science showed us all otherwise. Potential alternatives aligned with regulations and code are emerging, and R&D efforts to develop a viable substitute and new ways to clean up AFFF are underway globally. This is a challenge requiring we all come together in a true spirit of collaboration. The MRRA staff and its board must operate within the National Fire Protection Codes and regulations, but we're pleased for the opportunity to be able to take this interim step. MRRA staff, the Brunswick Fire Department, and other agencies continue to work on developing viable, legal, and a permanent solution. That's why we're here tonight. Eastern Fire is currently conducting an updated annual inspection of all hangars and addressing any items of concern or compliance. The work is planned to be completed by October 30th. We'll post the reports when available and communicate updates as the work continues. Let's now turn our attention to additional proactive steps we're taking beyond current conditions, inspections, and maintenance. MRRA is engaging Pool Fire Protection Services from Kansas to conduct a risk assessment and engineer potential alternative fire protection systems for each hangar that will safeguard people and property, meet regulatory requirements, and eliminate the use of chemicals that contain PFAS. Pool Fire Protection has deep experience in aviation facilities, working on military and major airports as far away as Asia. MRRA requested that Pool reach out to the Brunswick Fire Department, which they have done, and expect them to work closely together. Our goal is to analyze any viable available alternative fire suppression system that meet regulatory standards while adequately protecting people and property. I want to emphasize that the possibility of moving to a non-AFFF system is a more recent advance in fire suppression technology, and anything that Pool designs will need to be accepted by regulatory authorities. This will also be expensive, well outside of MRRA's budget, and will need the assistance of our partners in local, state, and federal governments to help us find and procure the funds. Excuse me. Staff continues to work with the Navy, the EPA, the FAA, congressional staff, and others to explore new developments in fire suppression science and potential funding sources. Military branches are currently working to design and install specialty water-based alternatives, and we're looking to their efforts as a potential model for the MRRA. We appreciate our congressional delegation reaching out to the Secretary of the Navy, attempting to obtain funding for a longer-term solution. The Navy has not yet responded. We will share the response when and if we receive one. The Department of Environmental Protection continues to monitor groundwater wells, water bodies, private wells, reporting their findings to the DEP website, which we republish on the MRRA website. The DEP reports all samples analyzed to date are below the Maine interim drinking water guidelines. We understand that Maine DEP will continue to test these sites every 3 months for a year. In response to the town's request, MRRA is exploring ways to enhance our communication outreach. As previously reported, MRRA will be utilizing the town's Notify Me communications channel when warranted to increase our current information distribution system. MRRA utilizes an opt-in email notification system. We publicized this system at our last public hearing with a sign-up sheet. 7 people have joined the email list so far. In addition to our email notification system and website, MRRA utilizes LinkedIn and Facebook. Brunswick Landing utilizes Instagram and YouTube. We're developing enhanced communication means and methods. This work is underway We expect a draft plan no later than October 30th. There's been some confusion about what MRRA is and our role. MRRA is a nonprofit, quasi-municipality established by the legislature to manage the redevelopment of the former Brunswick Naval Air Station and turn those properties over to the private and public sectors. Our staff of 8, overseen by a volunteer, unpaid, and let me please underline the word unpaid, because in the meetings that I've observed or listened to, we've been accused of being greedy and trying to pad our own wallets. There isn't one person on this dais who has ever received a dime in remuneration for their work and their volunteer efforts, unlike members of the town council or members of the legislature who are paid. We are a volunteer board appointed by the governor and confirmed by the state senate, representing surrounding communities, and we are tasked with economic redevelopment of the former base and maintaining crucial infrastructure, including most roads, stormwater management, domestic water distribution, and electrical grid. Brunswick Landing today contains properties owned by 27 different entities, with MRRA being just one. MRRA now has more than 390 electric customers, 25 miles of roads to maintain, more than 25,000 air operations take place annually at the Brunswick Executive Airport, a vital link to the growing economic force of Brunswick Landing. I think it's worth repeating that MRRA is a nonprofit redevelopment authority, not the ongoing property manager for most of Brunswick Landing. Because our work impacts not only Brunswick but surrounding communities, the MRRA board will be discussing a return to our pre-COVID practice of rotating our board meetings between the towns of Brunswick, Topsham, and Bath, and possibly adding Brunswick Landing location. Our meetings are always open to the public, providing time for public comment, and senior staff from the town of Brunswick have always attended our board meetings, our committee meetings, since MRRA's establishment. We'll now look to enter executive session and will return to the town chambers as soon as we are finished. Thank you again for committing to work collaboratively for all of our futures. Now, if I could have a motion to enter confidential discussions concerning legal and personnel matters pursuant to Title I, MRSA Section 405, subparagraphs 6A and 6E. So moved. Thank you. Motion by John Moncure. Second?
Second.
Second by Barry Woods. Thank you very much. We will now adjourn to executive session. Could I ask for a vote of all those wanting to approve the motion?
Aye.
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 I abstain.
Could I please have a motion to come out of executive session?
Second?
Thank you. All in favor of coming out of executive session?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. As I think I said in my earlier comments, this is a very complex situation. We've just had a rather lengthy discussion with our council, and we now will move to the rest of our agenda. I'm going to ask Christine, our executive director, to go through the items that the town presented to us, that they adopted, the town council presented to us, that were adopted on September 16th, 2024. Christine.
Okay. The first one is a follow-through on the request to shut off the PFAS AFFF fire protection system in Hangar 6 by September 30th. Obviously, that didn't happen because of legal reasons why we can't, and we can discuss that more. But the state fire marshal sets the rules of what we can and cannot have in the hangars to allow for that to be occupied. The system that's in there is required, and we're not able to do something that's unlawful. So we are working to find other solutions. Right now, we've engaged with Eastern Fire, who's step one. Eastern Fire is coming in to address any of the deficiencies and to do an annual testing. We have coordinated that with the fire department here. Josh Sheen has been over, met with them, walked through the buildings as well, and we are set to have all those any violations and the annual testing corrected by the end of October at the latest. We've also spent time having both Eastern Fire and Hampshire Fire come through our hangars, and they're giving us a quote on what it would cost to put in a replacement foam system. So we should have that in a couple of weeks and have that a quote in front of us. We've also engaged with a company called, I think it's Spill Safe. I can't always remember if Safe Spill or Spill Safe. Safe Spill, and they're out of Houston. They have another alternative fire suppression system, which is a floor system. It basically, you need three things to have a fire in the hangar: fuel, oxygen, and an igniter. And so this system works together with an overhead water system, and the floor will allow the fuel to go through and separate out, and so you don't get a fire. And it also is supplemented by an overhead water system. So we're getting a quote on that system. And then we have also had many conversations with Pool Fire Protection. They're out of Kansas. They do risk assessments of hangars. They do them all over. They've done them for Atlanta. They've done them for SeaTac. They've done them for Salt Lake City and many other large airports. Being able to determine if just a water system is available and appropriate for fire protection in some of our hangars. We believe Hangar 4 might be appropriate for that, but they're going to evaluate all of them. They also will put together custom fire protection programs. So if water system isn't the right system, then they'll look at others. And maybe it's a foam system, maybe it's a floor system, or something else that's appropriate. So we are actively moving towards solutions. We're staying focused. We're checking out all options that are available. I don't know if you want to, anything else about?
Does anyone have any questions of Christine on the answers? I believe that takes care of 1 and 2.
Yes.
Any questions?
Go ahead.
Christine, so just so we're clear in terms of the timing, we're going to be looking at Hangar 6 in particular in light of the town's concerns about that.
Yes.
And trying to get as expeditious a set of quotes and potential alternative
Yes.
methods. Is that correct?
Correct. So when we have an engagement letter with Pool, we will ask them to expedite the services, and we'll start with Hangar 6.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else?
I guess I wanted to suggest one other thing, because I know that it's been out there about why we can't just turn it off and have planes defuel. And so that has been looked into. That's not a viable action. One, there's a lot of risk in taking fuel out and putting fuel back in and taking fuel out, and we have several different types of fuel on the airports, as well as it's not an easy system. You drain the fuel out, you have to get fuel out of the lines, you have to open up the wings for evaporation to happen, and it just creates a very volatile environment. I don't know if anybody else wanted to speak on that, but.
Okay, thank you, Christine. Number 3, continue the timely follow-through on all resolution requests.
Yes, we are. I am collecting as many of the 19, well, I know that all 19 didn't apply to us, but those that did apply to us, and collecting those, I have had a conversation with Councilor King about the items that I'm pulling together and looking to have at the next council meeting for you all. Prior to that, I'll send it to the councilors, which I think is the 7th of October. So, yep, we're moving along with that.
Questions? Thank you. Number 4, have all MRRA board meetings properly publicly noticed and return to the pre-COVID protocol of having at town halls where they can be televised and recorded.
So we have had, since the inception of MRRA, the board meetings, as many folks remember, used to be held at the town halls of the affected communities of Brunswick, Topsom, and Bath. And so that continued that way up and through till COVID. And then everything went remote, and we've stayed remote for the most part, or we've come into our own boardroom at our offices. So we are looking to go back to our pre-COVID protocol, and we've reached out to Topsom and Bath too, and they're very interested in having, I left a message with Bath. I've talked to the town manager and Topsom, and they would really like us to do that. So I think we will probably do a rotation of Bath, Brunswick, Topsom, and one at the Brunswick Landing. And we can discuss times. I know we have a board meeting coming up, our annual meeting in October, so if we want to start a rotation or start that one at the Brunswick Landing and then rotate. But our meetings also have always been, again, since the very beginning, have always been at 4 o'clock, and so we can discuss if there's a time that we want to do that's better than that.
Excuse me, do we need to vote on going back to pre-COVID,
No.
routine? No?
I don't believe we do.
Okay.
No. Any other questions?
Are you good with rotating the communities?
I suggest we start with Brunswick again. Yes.
Well, some of us have been around here a while, and I'm sure the 3 of us that have been around here for a while, recall that we had our meetings in Brunswick, in this room. The person behind the glass over there asked if I was familiar with the technology, and unfortunately, I'm pretty long in the tooth, so I am. Where we can certainly come back to this facility. It's very nice.
And we appreciate
will
you setting us up today.
We will discuss the timing of those meetings. Number 5, support and advocate for nominations from the town of Brunswick for any board openings as provided for by statute.
So our current statute says that there are no elected officials that are on our board, and so at this point, I've had this conversation, I think, with Councilor Updegraff and maybe with Councilor King as well, that a lot of times what we'll do is we will contact the Director of Boards and Commissions and share what skill sets we need on our board. And that's really dependent on what we're looking to do for the next 3 to 5 years. So right now, our big focus for the next 3 to 5 years is roads, stormwater systems, and water distribution. So when I would be looking for new board members, we would say it would be really helpful, since we're a small staff and we really rely on the expertise and the knowledge of our board members, that those would be the talents that we're looking for. There are certainly board seats that are opening up that are that could be filled with Brunswick residents or business owners. The town has always had the opportunity to make nominations. That's where the nominations usually come from. They come from either the town, the affected town, or they come from a county commissioner. So I guess I would encourage the town of Brunswick to nominate somebody that you think, if you know, that have these skill sets that you know MRRA is in need of. I would encourage you to make those nominations. I don't know if you want to.
As was noted at our executive session by our representative from the Department of Commerce and Industry, or at least that's what it used to be called, pardon me if I've misspoken, there are 4 openings either currently or will become open very soon, my slot being one. My term expired in September. This is my 3rd term on this board. So you have notice that there will be 4 slots available, and as Christine said, the board encourages you to place any nominations you may have before the governor's office. Thank you. Number...
John.
Oh, sorry. Stan.
I would like to also mention that when we first created MRRA out of the Brunswick Local Redevelopment Authority days, that Brunswick had the overwhelming majority of members allocated for Brunswick, more than any other community or county. And I think that we should be able to fill those seats pretty easily, as long as we're putting people in that qualify. That's all I want to say, is that we do have, I believe it's 5 out of 11 slots that were allocated out of the original legislation for Brunswick.
Thank you, Stan.
Barry, did you have
I was just going to say, I think it'd be wholly appropriate for Brunswick to make nominations to sit, and I see under 6, business owners, residents of Brunswick Landing, people with that type of vested interest and, and passion. I think and it's obviously not our decision, it's the governor's decision, but I think that would be a good counterweight. So.
And Barry is a resident of Brunswick Landing. At least you were last time, I know, Barry.
I was a couple of hours ago.
Thank you. Number 6, request that the legislature and governor permanently reconfigure the MRRA board to be more representative of the local community, including Brunswick elected officials and residents and business owners of Brunswick Landing. I can take that one because the request is to the board. The statute is very clear, and my suggestion is, if elected officials are desired to be on the board, then the legislature should change the law, the enabling legislation. I don't think it's up to this board to support that one way or the other. We will abide by whatever the legislature chooses, and members of the board will come as a result of that decision. Anyone else?
comment?
And number 7, collaborate with the town of Brunswick on public outreach efforts, including supporting the town's Notify Me function with MRRA mailing lists, 3 town hall meetings on the landing, and standing quarterly reports to the town council.
So we did get this. I think probably a lot of people did. And we appreciate that there's been a new category added, which is MRRA and the Brunswick Landing, so folks can sign up. And also on this, you can get onto MRRA's distribution list. So we're happy to have this new communication option for us, and we're actively signing people up. In terms of town hall meetings and quarterly reports to the town council, and I'm just talking what I've decided, because I know that for items 2, 3, 4, and 7, I was directed, those are things that we didn't have to have any counsel on. So I'm talking about reports. I am going to be pulling together, and we've done this in the past, updates, because I know that the town council probably wants updates from this, but I know that the town of Topsom, we still have some ownership over in Topsom, and this affects the Bath region as well. So we will be putting together quarterly updates, and we'll be sharing them with everybody. We'll put them out through all of our channels, so we'll try to make sure that we're not just sharing it on our website, but it goes out through our social media. I can put it out on the town's website as well. I can put it out on our social media. So we're certainly going to do that. And we are working with somebody to put together a formal communications plan. And among that will be some of these town hall meetings, I guess, as we call them. We're still working on that plan, and we'll share it once it's all done. But some of it will be an update on MRRA, just helping people understand who we are, what our mission is, what it was when we started, how far into the implementation of the master reuse plan we are, and what's left to do. We'll talk about that. We're also looking at doing, we talked about a Let's Get Connected event on the landing, which not just gets people connected to us or to the town, but it can get them connected to the chamber or to the YMCA or to the daycares or everything that is out there that people need and want to be connected to. So we're willing to organize and host that event. And then, not that we would be the leads on this, but we would be helping to organize a session that would be probably led by DEP, the CDC, and a possible professor at the University of Maine who's studying and doing R&D on PFAS, because we also feel that it's really important for people to understand more about PFAS, not just what it is in the foam at the landing at this time, but where it is in our environments and our household items and how we're dealing with it, and just a regular awareness. So, and one other topic that we've talked about, and we're open to hearing other topics for some forums as well, but on Superfund sites, because I know that's a scary word. Everybody hears Superfund site, and there's a lot of questions and concerns about that and what the cleanup entails. And so EPA oversees Superfund sites. The Brunswick Landing has had Superfund sites on it for 40 plus years. And there is a process of, talking about why something is labeled a Superfund site. It could be a old Navy air base, but it could be a factory, it could be many things. What are the steps that go into remediating and cleaning up some of those sites so that they are able to be reused? It doesn't mean they're perfectly clean, but they're cleaned up to a point where they're can be redeveloped. And then some examples of some really excellent locations that have done a great job with redeveloping a Superfund site, and those are actively used and have been successful redevelopments. So we're working on all parts of that. And like I said, once we get our communications plan completed, we'll share it.
Any questions on number 7 for Christine? I'd like to go back to number 5 and just explain something. I said that my term expired in September, and I believe some of the other members here, their terms have expired, did expire in September. We're not here because we refuse to leave. The process is that the governor nominates and the Senate approves. And as you may know, the Maine legislature is not in session, so that can't happen probably until after the first of the year. So you still have time to nominate and to the governor, to the governor's office, and her appointments secretary, and perhaps the Senate will approve your recommendations. Christine, anything else on the September 16th request? In that
I don't think so.
case, I would like to go to the recommendations and some of the votes that we need to take tonight to move this process forward. Number one, I would like to request a vote to ratify the decision of the Executive Director to hire Pool Fire Protection as a fire suppression engineer to fully and expeditiously explore and provide recommendations regarding alternatives to the current PFAS-based AFFF fire suppression system in MRRA facilities, with an emphasis and priority on Hangar 6, but also on Hangars 4 and 5. Could I have a motion, please? Thank you, John. Is there a second? Thank you, Stan. Are there any questions? John? No? Anyone else? Seeing no questions, I will call for a vote. All those in favor of ratifying that decision, please raise your hand. It is unanimous
I abstain.
with one abstention. I would like to have a motion to authorize and direct the Executive Director to identify and report to the Board as to feasible alternatives to the current AFFF system that are compliant with NFPA 409 with deliberate haste. Could I have a motion, please? Thank you, Stan. Thank you, Barry. Are there any questions? Seeing none, I would ask for a vote. All those in favor of the motion? It is unanimous. Charlotte?
Abstain.
One abstention.
Abstain.
I would like a motion to advise the Executive Director to ensure that any changes to the fire suppression systems at any MRRA facilities are finalized only after such changes are provided to the insurance carriers for the MRRA. Could I have a motion? Thank you, John. Is there a second? Thank you, Stan. Are there any questions? Any discussion? Seeing none, I will ask for a vote. All those in favor?
I abstain.
Thank you, Charlotte. It is unanimous with one abstention. Number 4, I would like to ask for a motion to direct the Executive Director to coordinate with all appropriate regulatory authorities of the plan to immediately engage a fire suppression engineer as outlined above, and to thoughtfully and expeditiously identify alternatives to the current system. Could I have a motion? So moved. Thank you. We're going to give somebody else a chance, John. Thank you, Barry. Is there a second?
Second.
John Krasnick. John just likes to get his name in the minutes. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I will ask for a vote. All those in favor? Any
I
opposed?
abstain.
One abstention. Thank you very much. I would like to ask for a motion to direct the Executive Director to advise tenants of Hangar 6 of the intention to identify AFFF alternatives, but there will be no disruption of the fire suppression system. Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Barry.
Second.
Thank you, John. Are there any questions, or is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'd ask for a vote. All those in favor? Aye.
I abstain.
Thank you, Charlotte. Unanimous with one abstention. And lastly, I would like a motion to authorize MRRA Council to confer with counsel for the town regarding the Brunswick Fire Department notice of violation. Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Stan and Barry. And John. Are there any questions, or is there any discussion? Seeing none, I will ask for a vote. All those in favor?
I abstain.
Thank you, Charlotte. Is there any other business that anyone would like to bring before this meeting tonight before we adjourn? John? Rita? John? Barry?
No.
Christine, do you have any parting words?
Good night.
In that case, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. All those in favor? Charlotte, you didn't abstain. Thank you very much, everyone. Good night.